Hi everyone, Coach Susan here with Big on Results Coaching. I help people that are in transition or stuck to live a life of joy and prosperity. And I am here to talk to you on the subject of fear. Do you have fear ruling your life? Do you understand how fear actually operates and what the design is? Let me explain it to you. So when we have fear, the design was to give us fear to keep us out of danger. So if we were fearful, that would keep us out of harm's way. And we have fight or flight. That is both of those elements are fear. So when we are always in fight mode, that's not good. So we're being responsive to that fear, we're combating it. And then when we are in flight mode, we aren't facing the fear. We're being that runner and we're running away from that fear. Well, that's not good either. So we need to have a level of balance of fear and knowing when do we fight with this fear? When do we actually flight, remove ourselves from this fear? They're both necessary, but we need to remain balanced to determine when is that time for each of those components to remain balanced. So a lot of times we have fear and then we shut down. We just shut down because we're having all these emotions and we don't know how to process it. So we go and we just shut down so that we don't have to experience that fear, to experience that emotion. So when we have that type of fear, and we just retreat and we don't acknowledge it, that's very unhealthy. So the best thing to do when we have fear is to actually look it in the eyes. What does this look like? Why is this here? Am I supposed to be learning something from this? Why am I feeling this emotion? So when we feel that and we acknowledge that emotion, that sensation that we're feeling, that fear, that fright of whatever that is, we acknowledge it, it kind of loses its shape. Doesn't seem so big, bad, and ferocious. Sometimes we have fear because of something that's very traumatic happened to us and it was a really horrific experience. So then we'll have fear because we don't want to repeat that. We don't want to have that type of fear rise up again in our lives. But until we address that fear, it's still going to remain. It's still going to be that shadow. It is going to be that level of darkness that haunts you and plagues you. So then when we have the other fear and we are in a combative state, we're afraid, and so we just go in, just punching, and we are just being crazy because we don't understand this fear. So our natural instinct is just to be in fight mode. I'm going to fight this fear. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know. But we're not taking the time to actually, again, look at it, examine it, and to acknowledge that, which may mean actually feeling that emotion. So again, so that way we look at that and we say, you know what? That fear is not so bad of a fear. Maybe I shouldn't be frightful. Maybe I shouldn't be concerned. So again, to remain balanced, we need to have that level of discernment to ascertain, do we recognize this type of fear? What is this? Why is this present? Why are we thinking these things? So when we avoid having that emotion and experiencing that, then we are completely in the unknown. And that itself is very fearful. We don't know what that looks like. Well, did you take the time to try to figure out, well, why do you have that emotion? What is that fear? So when we go forward and we move forward and we approach that type of fear and we look at that and we examine it, that is where it all just dissipates. There's definitely fears that we should be like, whoa, hey, stay away from that. Definitely. But then there's also those fears that we look at and we're just like, oh my gosh, stay away. When it's actually nothing to actually fear at all. It's just something that's unfamiliar to you. Something that may seem even unusual. So we have a level of fear for that. We don't know what that looks like. Wait a minute. That looks odd. That's unusual. I'm not familiar. So I am just going to be fearful and avoid that. But you need to come forward and take a closer look at it. So when we fail to do that and have that level of acknowledgement, examinations of that fear, that's a pretty horrible life. It just requires us to take a closer look and a closer examination. So once we do that, then we don't have that fear. We could remain balanced. Why do you want to go through life being afraid of stuff? Being afraid over this over here and being afraid of this over there. Why would you want to do that? That is a poor quality of life. If there is something to be fearful of, it's to keep us protected, right? But so frequently we're afraid of things just because we didn't take the time to trust, to learn from that, to do the research, to embrace that emotion, or just to explore. Well, wait a minute. Why am I afraid of this? Sometimes it's just that it's different. Sometimes things are very similar to something in the past. So we think, oh gosh, you know what? The last time I did that type of a career opportunity, this huge thing happened. Well, take a closer look. Is it actually the same career opportunity? Is it the same key players? Is it the same situation? Is it the same scenario? We can navigate through life so much. So let's take a closer look instead of just assuming that this thing is actually scary. So when we are navigating through our life and we become fearful and we're afraid to advance, that we're afraid to explore, that keeps you stuck. We should always go over to that thing, that emotion, and take a look at it and say, ooh, wow. Sometimes it's just to acknowledge it and take a step back. I'm not going over there. I don't need to. That's not what I want to do. It's not what I want for myself. But sometimes as we approach things and we're like, oh my gosh, that's completely doable. Can't believe I was ever afraid to go and to run this half marathon, or that I was afraid to do this thing here, or I was afraid and I had fear on starting a new business, or going on an adventure someplace, or doing something. It's the unknown. So embrace that difference. Embrace that. Take a closer look. When you do that, then the fear goes away. A lot of people try to categorize this. Okay, I have some fear here, so I'm going to group it all together because I had this bad experience way back when, or maybe even last week, I had this bad experience. So I'm going to group it all together, cluster it together, and say it is this. When in fact, it's not. But you took the quickest method of trying to relieve that fear from yourself. So you grouped it all together and then you walked away from it so that you could group it together. This is what this is like. Here it is. But it may not be that way. So when you open up the pouch and you take a look, what is there? Oh, well, that's not so shabby. Well, that doesn't belong here. Oh, well, this. Yeah. Try not to do that in your life. Remain balanced. Take things for what they are. There's so many things that are different from each other. Whether it's a job opportunity or it's an education or something that you have never tried before, and to have that element of fear because you do not want to have that repeat occurrence of something else that was in the past. You know, there's so many things and we just are like, oh gosh, all of this is bad. Ooh, all of this. Here, cluster it up. Put it over here. It's all bad. It's bad. I have fear. Look at it. Is it really something to be fearful? So when we look at things and we break it down, oh, I guess I really shouldn't be afraid of that type of fear. It's really once I examine it and I take a closer look and then I look at it and okay, this one, it really isn't so much like this. But from a distance, it looked that way. But upon a closer examination, I'm able to determine, yeah, there's some difference. I shouldn't be afraid of this. This thing from the past, yeah, I definitely don't want that thing to happen again or have that type of a situation occur. I don't want that. Fine. But you won't know until you examine it. Take a closer look. Remain balanced. The fight or flight. So don't be flight. You want to be fight when you need to, and you want to be flight when you need to. But you're going to have both. Don't be just one. Don't be just the other. Take a look. Exercise that wisdom. What does that look like to you and why? And if it's bad on your examination and you go, wow, these two things are completely identical, then put them over here together. Don't sell yourself short of all of these wonderful things that you could actually enjoy because you have fear. If you need some help with kind of exploring this, should I actually be fearful of this particular thing? Am I close enough to even see it and to make this judgment? Reach out to me. I'm Coach Susan with Big on Results Coaching, and I want you to explore these things. I want you to see them for what their real identity is and how they really benefit your life or not benefit your life. But you'll never know until you examine it further. Until next Monday.